This video will contain spoilers for Avengers Endgame as well as Spider-Man Far From Home. And I guess I really don't know why I mentioned Endgame, because at this point, everybody and their dog has seen it. And if you haven't, well, then I think you literally live under a rock, or you just really don't care. But there will also be spoilers for Far From Home. You may not have seen that one yet. Way back, like 5 months ago, in March, Captain Marvel introduced Skrulls into the MCU, and then the theories exploded. Everybody was accusing everyone of being a Skrull. You could find videos theorizing that anybody from Nebula to Tony Stark to General Thunderbolt Ross might be a Skrull, and numerous people were convinced that somebody was going to be revealed as a Skrull in Endgame. But then a funny thing happened. Endgame came and went, and nobody was revealed to be a Skrull. The Skrulls weren't even mentioned. The closest thing we had was Gamora, and that's just because she's green, and not the Hulk. I'm gonna be honest, after that the Skrulls kind of took a backseat in my mind, and I stopped thinking about them for a while. That is, until Far From Home came out. I was shocked to see Nick Fury and Maria Hill transform back into Skrulls, and that's when it clicked in my brain, and I really realized how well the Skrulls can blend in. Anybody really could be a Skrull. I could be a Skrull and you wouldn't even know it. Or you could be a Skrull, and if you are a Skrull, that is flippity dang awesome. A Skrull is watching my YouTube channel. With my new interest in the Skrulls and with Endgame just coming out on digital and Blu-ray, I thought it would be worth going back through the movie and taking a closer look, going through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and I actually did it. I found a Skrull. In Captain Marvel, we see 4 Skrulls come to Earth. Talos, fake Coulson, less than capable scientist.
In orbit. Was that so difficult to figure out? I mean, you're my science guy, right?
And mystery number 4. Fake Coulson is killed when Fury crashes the car. Less than capable scientist is shot and killed by Yon-Rogg, and Talos heads back into space with Fury and Carol. So let's do some math. 2 are killed and 1 heads back into space. So 2 plus 1 is 3, okay? And we saw 4 come to Earth. So 4 minus 3 is 1, and where's mystery number 4? You know, with a name like mystery number 4, it seems like it'd be pretty obvious that he would go missing. Many people have tried to figure out the identity of this Skrull, theorizing that he may be Maria Hill or Rhodey, just to name a couple. But with Endgame, I think I have finally found the answer to who this mystery Skrull became. Obviously, he is Nick Fury, because in Far From Home we see Fury transform back into a Skrull. Wait, what? Fury is Talos in Far From Home, not mystery number 4? Well, poop. Sorry about that. New theory. All joking aside, I think I have actually figured out who he is, and I have searched the internet, and I cannot find a single person who has even suggested that this character might be a Skrull. So this theory is mine. I figured it out. Joe Russo is a Skrull. Boom. I don't mean to say that Joe Russo, the co-director of Endgame, is actually a Skrull. At least, not that we know of. What I do mean is that the character who he plays in Endgame, this man, simply credited as Grieving Man, is definitely a Skrull. And I can prove it. We first saw Joe Russo as a character in the MCU back in the first movie him and his brother Anthony directed, Winter Soldier. In this movie, we see him as Dr. Fine. He is one of the doctors who helped Fury fake his death. He operated on him and pronounced him dead. We see him later when it is revealed that Fury is still alive, and he tends to Black Widow's shoulder, which has been shot. That is all we see of him in Winter Soldier, but he shows up again in the Russo's next movie, Captain America: Civil War. Here, he is Dr. Theo Broussard, again a doctor, only this time not a surgical doctor, but instead a doctor of psychiatry, and also he's Swiss. Broussard was assigned by the UN to interrogate Bucky, but he never did, because before he made it there, he was murdered by Helmut Zemo. So how was he able to die in Civil War, but then show up again in Endgame? The obvious answer is that they are just 3 separate characters. But then, why do these 3 characters look exactly the same? Well, they are all played by the same guy, but there are very few people who have played multiple characters within the MCU. These are Kenneth Choi, Laura Haddock, and Martin Starr. There are more if you include the TV shows and non-human characters, but I'm just not going to count those. Both Kenneth Choi and Laura Haddock play two characters related to each other. Laura Haddock playing mother and daughter, and Kenneth Choi playing grandfather and grandson. As for Martin Starr, well, A, the two characters he plays are in the Universal and Sony MCU movies, so he kind of already doesn't count, and B, I am not ready to dismiss the idea that he in fact might also be a Skrull. The characters that Russo plays would all roughly be the same age, so in order for them to look that similar, they would have to be twins, or I guess triplets. Identical triplets, but I'm sorry, triplets do not come in the form of two Americans and one Swiss, especially not when they're the identical variety. So why do they look exactly the same? Unless, of course, there's a race of aliens who can take on the appearance of others. Oh wait, I believe that in 2 of his 3 appearances, Joe Russo is a Skrull, in Winter Soldier and Endgame. To figure out how he became a Skrull, let's go back to mystery number 4 from Captain Marvel. This Skrull, who needs a better name than Mr. Number 4. I'll call him Gerald. Gerald is a doctor. It would make sense that the Skrulls would have a doctor aboard the ship, and this is he. Gerald does not make it to the refugee ship with Talos, and is thus left on Earth. But when Talos makes it to the ship, he's able to contact Gerald, and let him know that the humans are friends, and that Nick Fury was particularly helpful in saving their people. Gerald seeks out Fury, and in showing his gratitude, pledges to work for him. And at some point meets or sees a picture of Theo Broussard, and not realizing that they are 2 completely different types of doctors, takes his form and gives himself the name Dr. Fine. And as said doctor, he becomes an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. It may seem like it would be a crazy coincidence for Gerald to be able to come in contact with Theo Broussard, but I don't actually think it's that unreasonable. Broussard was the one that the UN chose to interrogate James Buchanan Barnes, the Winter Soldier. So you would assume he's pretty good at his job. In 1995, he would have been around the age of 24, and I don't find it hard to believe that an up-and-coming psychiatrist working for the UN would cross paths with S.H.I.E.L.D. Years later, very few people know Gerard's secret. Only Fury and his closest associate, Maria Hill. It also wouldn't surprise me if Coulson knew, but he kinda sorta died, depending on how canonical you consider the TV shows to be. Fury is shot and critically wounded, so who does Hill call to come to the rescue? The best doctor she knows, Gerald. Hill and Gerald form a plan to fake Fury's death, and Gerald is easily able to do just that, and then transport Fury and revive him later. After Ultron nearly destroys the Earth, Fury plans to rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D., a better S.H.I.E.L.D., one that is able to better protect the world from otherworldly threats. So he takes to space and with the Skrulls forms a sword. You can watch the full video on that by clicking the card. When Fury leaves for space, Gerald is left on Earth with one important task: to watch over the Avengers. So that's what he does, and that's where we see him in Endgame. Keeping a secret but close eye on the Avengers, and reporting back to Fury, who is in space. Because that was most certainly not Fury we saw in Infinity War, but that's a video for another day. Once you realize that Joe Russo has been a Skrull, it makes some things that before seemed pretty weird make a lot more sense. Like Fury's fake death in Winter Soldier, for example. Not only was he just able to fake his own death, which is a feat on its own, but he was still shot multiple times and in a car accident and flipped over by a bomb. He has a whole list of injuries, including, as Gerald pointed out,
don't forget your collapsed lung.
But a few days later, he is perfectly fine. He's able to confront Alexander Pierce and fly a helicopter, and that kind of healing doesn't just happen unless, you know, your doctor is an advanced alien surgeon. Now, there is certainly going to be a group of people who see this video who think Joe Russo's roles in these movies are just cameos, and you are way overthinking it. To which I say, yeah, you're not wrong. But you know which other MCU director gave himself a cameo?
Where to, sir?
Take us to the hospital,
No.
please, Happy. No.
I want an American cheeseburger.
And I don't know about you, but to me he seems pretty important just outside of his cameo.
You know, your dad likes cheeseburgers.
Just saying. So what do you think? Is there a chance that Joe Russo is Gerald the Skrull, or is he just three different people who happen to look identical even though they are different nationalities? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I do really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like on the video and share it with your friends. If you're new around here, please do consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you never miss a video from me in the future. If you really enjoy my content and want to show even more support, I started a Patreon page, so you can head over there and sponsor me. There will be a link to that in the description. You can click over here to see a video about the character of Shang-Chi, or you can click over here to see a video about Sword in the MCU. But once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.